Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever been, mid-thought, maybe grappling with some problem, when suddenly seemingly unrelated things just snap into place?
Yeah, that click.
Exactly. It's not just a click, it's almost a gasp, that feeling of, oh, that's what it was.
Pure clarity.
Like a light bulb suddenly switching on. So today, we're diving deep into what that oh moment actually is, why it feels so, well, good, and how it's way more than just a fleeting sensation.
It's something quite fundamental, actually. Powerful, measurable.
And maybe even engineerable. That's what we're exploring. For this deep dive, we've pulled together a really fascinating mix of sources. We're talking cognitive psychology research, practical business case studies.
But even some cutting-edge stuff from artificial intelligence.
Right, and our mission is to guide you through what these sources call the O-moment framework. It's this idea that kind of turns understanding on its head. It argues the most powerful knowing isn't really learning something totally new.
But it's about suddenly recognizing a pattern that was always there, just maybe hidden or overlooked. Right in front of you sometimes.
Exactly. So you'll discover the science behind it, why it seems to apply everywhere from your own life to complex AI.
And how it challenges some of our usual ideas about teaching or solving problems.
Get ready for maybe a few aha moments of your own. Because, yeah, here's what gets really interesting. So to kick us off,
Yeah.
let's pin down what this oh moment really is at its core. Our sources call it the pinnacle of understanding. Not acquisition, but reacquisition. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that distinction is key. What's really fascinating is how retrospective it is. It completely shifts your mental frame. You go from feeling like you're learning something new
Uh-huh.
to finally getting something you sort of already had the pieces for.
Right, so you're not importing new data, just rearranging.
Exactly. Making sense of information that was already there, but maybe misinterpreted, or the connections weren't clear. It's less about someone saying, here's the right answer, and more like, hey, look at the pieces you have this way, and then you see it.
And you mentioned it's involuntary,
Yeah.
that you can't fake the, what makes it so honest?
Precisely. That O is honest because it's tied into our biology. When that clarity hits, your brain gets a little flood of dopamine.
Ah, the reward chemical.
Right. It feels good because it signals a sudden drop in cognitive dissonance, that mental friction you feel when things are fuzzy or contradictory.
Yeah, that uncomfortable
It
feeling.
vanishes. So your brain is essentially rewarding itself for finding order, for making sense of things.
Wow. So it's literally a reward for solving a puzzle you didn't even consciously know you were piecing together. It's like that quote from one of the sources, we're just the mirror, not the light. It helps you see patterns you already hold.
Exactly that. And if we connect this to how the brain actually works, this oh moment, it sort of hijacks a pre-encoded neural reflex. It maps onto this sudden resolution where scattered, maybe high entropy inputs, think of like jigsaw pieces all over the floor. Suddenly they just snap together into a clear picture. That sudden drop in confusion is a profound cognitive event.
Okay, so it's not just a nice feeling, it's a real measurable cognitive shift, a neural event. Does this tie into things psychologists have studied for ages?
Oh, absolutely. This kind of sudden clarity is deeply connected to well-established psychological ideas. You've got insight learning. Think of Kohler's classic chimpanzee experiments where the chimp suddenly sees how to use the stick to get the banana.
Right, the aha
It
moment.
says, then there are Gestalt principles like pattern completion or closure. Your brain wants to see complete forms. So when you give it incomplete data and it suddenly triggers a full, coherent understanding, that's an oh.
Makes sense.
And it also aligns with schema activation. That's when a mental model you already have is suddenly, unexpectedly, remapped onto a situation that was confusing before. Everything just clicks.
An instant remapping of your internal world.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it's measurable. How on earth do you put a number on an oh moment? That seems tricky.
It does seem tricky, but the answer is surprisingly concrete. It's tied to something called fem boundary detection. You can sort of think of it like a very sophisticated GPS for your thoughts. It doesn't just show where you are, but precisely where the confusion ends and the clarity begins.
Yeah.
So that gives that internal mental shift a measurable, almost mathematical basis.
That's a powerful idea. So, okay, the O is biologically wired. It's neurally measurable. But what if this isn't just about human brains? What if this pattern recognition applies to, well, any thinking system?
Now you're getting to where it becomes really compelling. The sources describe this concept as substrate agnostic, meaning it applies universally. It doesn't really matter if the intelligence is a single human brain, a team working together, or even an artificial intelligence.
Seriously?
Yeah. The underlying principle, seeking patterns, resolving dissonance, seems to hold true across different thinking systems.
Okay, give us some examples then. How does this O scale up or across different kinds of intelligence?
Sure. So for an individual, a human O might be that sudden personal insight like, oh, right, that's why I always put off doing my expenses on Thursdays. A blind spot revealed.
Okay, I can see that. What about a team?
For a team, it could be seeing an organizational dynamic that was just invisible before, like, oh, that's the real bottleneck in our project workflow, or even, oh, wow, that's the echo chamber effect happening in our planning meetings.
Seeing the system dynamics. And AI. How does an AI have an O moment?
Well, it's obviously not emotional for the AI, but mathematically it can have an equivalent. An AI system might identify a crucial boundary in its model or catch data drift that's causing errors. Think of it like the system realizing, oh, that's where my predictions start going wrong, or oh, that's the input pattern triggering those weird hallucinatory outputs.
It's the same fundamental recognition of a critical pattern, just expressed differently depending on the intelligence.
Exactly. It reinforces this idea that all intelligence, in a way, is trying to be efficient, trying to reduce that entropy, that confusion, by finding patterns.
Okay, this is fascinating. If these moments are so fundamental, so rewarding, so universal, how do you actually trigger them intentionally? The sources give some language guidelines for this.
Yeah, the key is communication that doesn't lecture but unveils. It's strategic. You want to use that O language when you're describing a moment of recognition yourself, or when explaining the value you bring maybe in testimonials or demonstrating how you spotted a pattern.
You're trying to prompt that self-discovery in the other person.
Right, triggering their own self-diagnosis.
And interestingly, there are words to actively avoid. Things like breakthrough, epiphany, pivot. Why avoid those? They sound positive.
According to the sources, those words imply something completely new, a radical change, or maybe even that the previous way was a failure. You broke through a barrier. You pivoted from a bad direction.
Ah,
The O moment is about recognizing what was already there, just unseen. It's a shift in perception, not necessarily bringing in totally new information. It honors the existing knowledge.
but you can use variations of O.
Oh, yeah. The sources suggest playing with the tone. Oh, duh, for that humble hindsight. Oh, snap, for a quick, maybe playful realization, or even, oh, hell yeah, for a big, high-stakes kind of click.
Right, leaning into the natural, involuntary feel of it.
Exactly. It keeps it authentic.
That makes total sense. It's about meeting people where they are, emotionally and cognitively, not forcing something new onto them. So how does this look in practice? Can you give us some concrete examples of implementing this O-focused communication?
Sure. Think about, say, website copy. Instead of a boring headline about what you do, maybe something like, we succeed when you say, oh, that's what it was.
Puts the focus on the client's realization.
Yeah.
What about testimonials?
Imagine a testimonial that reads, the call was maybe 30 seconds. The oh moment I had, that's going to save me months of work. It highlights the impact of the recognition, not just the interaction.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And for a value proposition, it could be super clear. One blind spot bullseye equals one genuine O per day.
Exactly. And think about actual conversations, like a sales call or a coaching session.
How would you script that?
You could even set the expectation up front, something like, look, this call really aims for one thing, helping you find your genuine arc moment about this challenge.
Sets the stage for discovery.
Or in email marketing, a subject line like, oh, that's your hidden bottleneck. It creates curiosity and promises that feeling of self-discovery.
And for AI, how do you position that?
Could be something like, the O that catches your model's drift today bounds your AI's reliability tomorrow. It connects the immediate insight to the long-term value. It's about weaving this idea into everything.
It sounds like there's a practical, almost repeatable framework behind this. What's the recognition engine model the sources describe?
It's actually a pretty elegant three-step process. Step one is observe. This is all about gathering dissonance.
Dissonance, meaning
Meaning you listen really deeply, you collect those scattered data points, those observations that don't quite fit, the contradictions people mention. You're essentially mapping out the confusion, what they call the high entropy state.
okay, so you gather the fuzzy picture first.
Right. You scan all those different threads, pull in those disparate pieces you mentioned at the start. That's observation.
Then, once you've observed all that confusion, what's step two?
Step two is reframe. This is where you identify the blind spot. This is kind of the art of it. You take all those scattered observations and look for the single unifying pattern, that invisible bottleneck or connection that explains the dissonance.
finding the hidden logic.
Exactly. This often involves applying that fem boundary detection idea we talked about, finding where the clarity begins. You're looking for the subtle connections that suddenly make everything sharp, seeing the forest, not just the trees.
Okay, observe, reframe, and then the payoff, step 3, triggering the O.
That's reveal. And here, the language is crucial. You use retrospective phrasing emphasizing that's what it was. But the really important part is giving the credit back to the listener. Frame it as their internal understanding. Maybe say something like, your map already knew this, we just helped unveil it.
So you don't over-explain.
No, let the pattern speak for itself. Let their brain make the final connection. That's what makes the O genuine.
And the sources say this creates a flywheel effect. How does that work?
Well, think about it. Each genuine O moment instantly builds trust and rapport.
Because it feels good and true to them.
Precisely. And that trust allows for deeper observation next time. You can explore subtler issues, reveal more nuanced patterns.
Which leads to more O moments.
Exactly. It becomes this self-reinforcing loop. Clarity accelerates discovery, which builds trust, enabling deeper dives, leading to more clarity. It's a positive cycle.
That's really potent. Okay, we've established the O is measurable neurally. But how do you measure it practically? Like if a business is trying to use this, how do they track success?
Yeah, this is where it gets operationalized, which is fascinating. They introduce a metric called the recognition quotient, or RQ.
RQ.
Recognition quotient. It's the primary metric. It measures the average number of calls or interactions it takes to get that first involuntary oh moment from someone.
Wow, what's a good score?
Well, the target mentioned is pretty ambitious, less than 1.5 calls. They noted an improvement from an earlier average of about 2.2. Think about the efficiency gain there.
That's a really clear KPI.
Yeah.
Are there other ways they try to quantify this seemingly intangible insight?
Yes, a couple more. There's O intensity. Basically, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big was the realization? How strong was that snap?
Okay.
And then there's O retention. Does the insight stick? Does the person still recognize and use that pattern, say, 30 days later?
Right. Did it actually change their perspective long term? So how do you know if it's a real O? How do you diagnose it versus someone just being polite or saying what they think you want to hear?
Good question. You look for specific diagnostic signals, both verbal and nonverbal. Verbally, listen for that involuntary, often slightly drawn out, oh, or a sudden, wait a second, or so that's why.
The sound of realization.
Exactly. Physically, watch for subtle cues, a small involuntary head nod, maybe their eyes widen slightly. Sometimes people lean back, almost like the idea needs space.
Interesting. And timing.
Temporally, yeah. There's often a genuine pause before they respond. It indicates that drop in cognitive load, like their brain just rebooted with the new pattern.
Okay, so those are the green lights.
Yeah.
What are the red flags that tell you it's not genuine, that the connection didn't land?
If you see forced enthusiasm, like an over-the-top reaction that feels performed, that's usually a sign it wasn't real.
Right.
Or if you get a very generic non-committal response like, that's interesting, that often means they're just processing or maybe being polite, but the actual click didn't happen.
The beauty of the O is its honesty, you said. It's hard to fake convincingly.
Exactly. Your body often gives it away before your words do.
Okay, we've broken down the what, the why, the how, the application, the measurement, but there's this deeper, almost heretical quality mentioned about the O moment framework. It seems to sit outside normal categories. What's that about?
Yeah, this is a really profound point in the sources. The framework isn't really directive, like telling someone what to do, but it's not purely non-directive either, like just passively listening. It operates as something else entirely, a catalyst.
A catalyst, like in chemistry.
Precisely. Think about it. A catalyst doesn't force a reaction, and it doesn't just sit back and wait. It creates the exact conditions needed for the system, in this case, the person's mind, to transform itself much more efficiently.
And the catalyst itself isn't consumed in the reaction.
Right. It facilitates the change without becoming part of the final product. It's about optimizing your system's inherent potential to find clarity.
That makes so much sense. It really boils down to cognitive efficiency, doesn't it? It's not about being rebellious or questioning authority for its own sake, but just about, well, not wasting energy on being stuck,
Yeah.
as one source put it. It's elegant.
It really is. And you see this catalytic quality in other well-designed systems all around us. Think about really intuitive user experience design in an app.
Okay.
A great app doesn't need a thick manual. It guides your intuition effortlessly. You feel like you just knew where to tap. The design catalyzed your interaction.
Got it. What else?
Or consider masterful cinema the principle of show, don't tell. Good directors don't spell everything out. They present visual information, sound, character actions, and they catalyze an emotional or narrative recognition in you, the audience. You piece it together. You feel the story.
That's a great analogy. Another one could be the Montessori method in education.
Absolutely. The whole prepared environment concept.
Mhm.
The materials are designed to be self-correcting. The system itself catalyzes the child's natural curiosity and discovery rather than relying only on direct instruction. The child drives the learning.
The ownership stays with the learner.
And even in leadership, think about creating collision space. Good leaders don't just mandate collaboration or issue top-down solutions. They design environments, maybe physical or virtual, where unexpected interactions can happen. Knowing those interactions will catalyze innovation and new insights within the team. They create the conditions for emergence.
It's a fundamental shift in how you think about facilitating change or understanding.
Yeah.
Now, let's circle back to that heresy aspect. Why might this framework ruffle some feathers? It's not claiming to have the truth, but it is claiming mastery over the mechanism of insight. That feels bold. Like saying you have a superior engine for finding your own truth.
Yeah, that's where the potential controversy lies. It's important to stress, though, that the framework positions itself as acceleration, not aggressive unmasking. It's designed to be collaborative, catalytic,
Right, not confrontational.
and it has that value-neutral quality we touched on. An oh moment just reveals a pattern. That pattern might not be some deep, morally wise or authentic truth in the philosophical sense. The process is deemed legitimate because it's based on cognitive honesty, on pattern recognition, but it's distinct from, say, therapy or philosophy, which often do aim for deeper moral or authentic self-discovery.
So who might take issue with this approach, and why?
Well, several groups, potentially. First, you might have traditionalists or subject matter experts. They could see this as oversimplifying truly complex problems, arguing you can't shortcut deep expertise or long study.
There are no silver bullets kind of argument.
Exactly. Then you have ethicists or psychotherapists. They might worry about the potential for manipulation, even subtle steering of clients, especially if you talk about metrics and gamifying insight. It could feel like it cheapens genuine self-discovery.
Commodifying introspection, maybe.
Could be a concern. Then, data-driven skeptics. They might question using the subjective O as a reliable KPI. Is it too fleeting? Could it just reinforce existing biases if the insight isn't checked against hard data?
Valid questions.
Absolutely. You also have advocates for slower, deliberate growth. They might argue that this focus on quick insight devalues the necessary struggle, the messy middle of real change. Are we just creating a dopamine addiction to quick fixes instead of fostering resilience?
Promoting insight over integration, perhaps.
Possibly. And finally, think about the end user in resistance. Someone in a real crisis who just needs a direct answer now might find this catalytic, non-directive approach incredibly frustrating. They just want to be told what to do.
So it definitely has its boundaries and potential critics.
Okay.
So after all this, what does it really mean for you listening right now? We've taken quite a journey into this oh moment framework.
Yeah.
We've seen its blend of psychology, business thinking, even AI alignment. We've seen how this powerful, involuntary spark of recognition isn't just nice to have.
It's a deep biological response. And once you understand it, maybe, just maybe, you can intentionally cultivate it.
Remember, the real power here, the genius, as the sources put it, is that it doesn't require you to believe anything new. It just asks you to recognize what you already feel, what patterns might already be present in your own thinking, your own data.
We aren't here handing out truths. The idea is more like holding up a mirror, helping you see the structures and connections that were always there in your own experience, your own systems. The light was always yours.
So we invite you now to carry this lens forward. Think about the challenges you face, personal ones, game dynamics, maybe even understanding complex systems like AI. Where could you create the conditions, observe the dissonance, look for the hidden pattern to allow an oh moment to emerge? For yourself, or maybe to help someone else?
How can you become more of an architect of clarity? Because that oh, when it's real, is honest. You can't fake it.
And maybe, just maybe, when you have your own oh moment about the potential of this idea,
Yeah.
well, then we'll know we've truly aligned with you on this journey.